calendar invite, you get the chat messages.
Yes, yeah. I was getting that. And then
Nice.
comments,
Wow.
proclamation, picture, and then more pictures.
You didn't join us for the singing afterwards.
Well, I had to make a phone call and the documents.
You didn't get to hear my horrible voice.
I heard it wasn't horrible.
She survived it.
I survived. You should have heard mine. I was reading.
When I was a young
Alrighty,
kid, I
we are
was-
back and live and back to you, Chair Harrington.
Well, thank you there, Clerk Moss, and welcome to the afternoon portion of the Washington County Board of Commissioners work session for this Tuesday, June 18th. We're going to dive right into board communication. So, of the four of us, who would like to go first?
Jerry. I think Roy should go first. But I will.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so last week, just a second, I gotta pull my calendar back up again.
That was so last week.
So last week was the COPAC meeting, and so I was in Tillamook for COPAC and Northwest Act.
How come they never come? Oh, Colpack.
Yeah,
I was about to say.
closest that gets Banks.
Yeah.
So Banks, Astoria, and
Oh, maybe
Excuse
they should
me.
meet in Bank someday.
I think probably the next one will be. I'd have to look, but yeah,
Cool.
they rotate around pretty good.
Good.
So yeah, I was in Colpack and Northwest Act. In Colpack, we appointed Claudia Yakos. Claudia is with the Forest Grove Cornelius Chamber. So we appointed her to the Colpack board. And so that'll be a really good addition. She's a real fireball. Done a great job out at the Forest Grove and Cornelius Chamber. Northwest Act, we met the new Region 2 ODOT manager. I didn't write down her name, unfortunately. I do have it in my contacts, but she was giving the pitch again on ODOT's financial woes. That's about the fourth time I'd heard it, so it's starting to get old. And now and then I listened to it yesterday in the AOC Transportation and Community Development Committee, same thing. And they were talking about legislative priorities, and certainly the transportation bill is one of them. ODOT's financial woes, of course, led the conversation, and there was all kinds of stuff. They're all over the board. Everybody's all over the board about how to generate more money. And that certainly they're looking at how they can get more money out of the electric vehicle community. So we'll have to stay tuned on that. It's interesting perspective.
Make me pay, please.
Well, trust me, they are. They're talking about significantly increasing vehicle registration fees, but everything they're talking about is really nickels and dimes. It's not going to fix anything at ODOT. We got to talk about major money. I keep saying every conversation, I say vehicle miles traveled, VMT. They can't quite get there. Anyway.
Obstacle. Do you
You
think?
know, I don't know. We've been talking about this for years. The one obstacle I heard the other day in the meeting was, I don't want the government to know where I travel. And I went, do you have a cell phone?
Tracking.
They already know where you're at.
Yeah, all the time, all the time.
They already know
Credit
where
card
you've been.
companies know what I spend, you know.
Well, I get in my car and it tells me where I'm going.
Yeah.
You know, so gee, Christmas. Anyway, don't get me started on this. So let's see. So I already said about the AOC transportation meeting. That was a long meeting as well. Tonight, when I get through here, I have a Salmonberry Trail Foundation board meeting, and so we're moving ahead on finding money for the trail and working with Washington County certainly on permitting. So that's good. I'm going to Rotary for a Rotary lunch for presentation of scholarships, college scholarships. They hand out about a dozen scholarships, and so they'll be doing that. I'll be doing that with Mayor Callaway on Thursday. Be here Thursday night for your State of the County address. And then Friday, I am in Salem because we're getting ready to meet with the Council of Forest Trustlands Executive Committee and then meeting with them, the entire group, a week later. So we're kind of doing planning. And yeah, we're working on that agenda. And so that's all I got. Busy time.
I'll go next. I'm taking some time off, so I don't really have a lot of updates. But yesterday, being Monday, was a WCCC monthly meeting. And one of the action items was MSTIP Opportunity Fund expenditure request and a TDT expenditure request, which the committee approved. One of the things we wanted to note was this item, as you know from our agenda this morning, it was revised. Washington County pulled its Safe Route to School request because our capital project team reviewed the projects and identify that the estimates were a bit low. City of Beaverton and Forest Grove might be also pursuing Safe Routes to School grants using the MSTIP opportunity funds as a match. So staff will be revisiting and resubmitting to the TAC and WCCC to consider in July. The other agenda item that was just for update and discussion only was the Sherwood West concept plan and the UGB expansion proposal. Mayor Tim Rosner and his team, Eric and Joy, both presented an overview of the concept plan and then the UGB request. It was a really good, informative presentation from my perspective. Just a quick connection. Our board of Washington County Commissioner acknowledged the Sherwood West concept plan and approved an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Sherwood and approved a letter of support to Metro for Sherwood's urban growth boundary expansion application on April 2nd meeting. The county staff will continue to work with the city of Sherwood on several transportation issues, as indicated yesterday at the meeting, including refining the infrastructure funding strategy and the potential realignment of Elward Road and Edie Road intersection. The other big discussion, or not really a big thing, but a worthy discussion was something that a letter you brought, Commissioner Willie, to our board. It was the R1 Act update which included an OTC update. At their June 3rd meeting, the R1 Act discussed sending a letter to the OTC about the funding plan to address the major funding shortfall for the Abernathy Bridge and the Rose Quarter projects. The act had previously not been engaged in this issue, as been indicated. OTC met, so just a quick update and closing that loop. OTC met on June 12th. June 12th.
Oh, June. Okay. Oh, this is June. It's
Yeah.
not here in July. Yes, I'm sorry. Correct.
You, don't rush me. I'm not ready yet.
I know, I'm not ready.
We're in June 12th to consider the conceptual financial plan proposed by ODOT to address the major funding shortfall for Abernathy Bridge and Rose Quarter projects. I think the staff has more details. There's a lot of, it includes a lot of hybrid proposal to address the funding shortfall. OTC approved the conceptual funding plan by 4-1 votes. Approved.
We wrote a letter in opposition.
Yeah, but so you got one person to agree.
We knew what kind of response we were going to get to.
It's a win. You got one person to agree with you, so yeah. I would call that a win, right?
I don't know.
I mean, that person could have been in the spirit of cooperation to vote with the majority, but they voted. They must have heard some notes. Important to note that the changes to the STIP, the STIP, have local and regional and statewide consequences. The ask to ODOT should be to engage with the acts over the next several months about additional cuts and refinements projects. So
Yep.
that is the unanimous or at least consensus on that ask for them. And this week I do have, with 11 seconds left of my time, I do have a JPAC. There's a lot of informational and discussion items on the agenda.
I wouldn't be too bothered by the OTC vote. We're not their audience.
Yeah, I think
I think there's really some need there from the agency that they've got a heavy lift with the legislature to try and work on.
well, we'll see where they come up with the $350 million shortfall.
Well, and that's where our voice, I think, could be useful to our legislators because you've helped us be much clearer about the impact to our communities should the state funds for maintenance, not only for the state portion, but for the county portion be clawed back. So,
Yeah, I think if I remember the statistic correctly, 6% of ODOT's money goes to operations and maintenance. 6%.
there's a big state highway system out there and it's falling apart.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, 6% will do that.
And I'll stay on the same thing, just looking back, went to WA meeting last week on the IBR, same tune, just a different message. I really like, I always forget his name, the person in charge of that.
Chris Steckler?
No, Chris is what is. No, he's the.
Not, he's ODOT, he's
He's
not IBR.
Yeah, he's not the. Greg.
Greg Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. I like Greg. He's very.
Audience
There's
participation
Rolodex
is welcome
brain
here.
over here. You can't be a GR person if you're not good at remembering names and faces.
I-
Not true.
A certain calibers.
With Greg on several occasions over the years, and I just think he did a terrific job. Unfortunately, he's gonna finish off the IBR and then he's gonna go back to Michigan. That's where he really is from. He wants to
Oh.
go back. He has an interest in being out here to get this job done. They're talking about the same issues over and over again. It's a combination of gas tax and a lot of things that we need to do, but that's, everybody's afraid of Big Brother and they're afraid of making the tough decision. So it's a little disheartening. Your comment here, I do think that the letter is valuable. I wrote one. I was, chair of Region 1, and actually Catherine signed and was also a big part of that. But we weighed in. When I was chair, we weighed in on the distribution of funds between the fix it and the replace. They didn't do anything we wanted in regard to getting us involved in the step. We waited on that. That was a, Catherine's letter. They didn't listen. I don't know. Interesting folks. I had dinner with them, and they're nice people, but they have a different perspective.
But Metro Council President Tom Hughes taught me that even if they don't hear the message, it's important for us to bring voice to the message.
Every once in a while, somebody might reread the letter and go, maybe.
Yeah, it's a very institutionalized organization that they have their own thoughts and they're going to march. So it has to be influenced. And you said it well, the chair said it well. It needs to be influenced from the outside, not so much. When you talk to their staff, you're not going to get along. I'm going to attend, obviously, the state of the county, and hopefully you'll give us cue cards when to applaud, when to laugh, when to cry.
Our staff assures me it'll be pretty obvious,
Oh,
but don't worry,
okay.
I'll clap too.
I'm gonna that morning go over and listen. I've been a long-term member of the 12. They have what they call business advocacy, and they've invited when Jason Snyder would come speak. So I'll try to my mouth shut and not ask any questions, but listen to his aspirations plans. He's going to talk about that. Then I mentioned over a little bit at lunch, and I think it's a good idea that we consider in our travel plans, clean water services, something, the chair sent out something that I thought was a good piece in regard to what we do on the county. It might be appropriate to do something similar with clean water services. I just see a lot more scrutiny. People are fairly unhappy with, you know, you get those letters, do I get them, calls, about, you guys are spending a lot, so you might want to do that. The last thing that I would say today, beyond, thank you, Tanya, for your comments, continuing on the budget. It's important, I think, to continue to say that is that, as you know, there's going to be a new measure qualified for the ballot, another tax measure on corporations, which really has a big impact on a lot of people. $25 million is, it sounds like a lot to little businesses like mine, but it's not a lot to people who are selling in big quantities. And if that's going to be a disincentive for a lot of businesses. So we've got to watch, especially at the local level, where we're so dependent upon some added revenues we need to do. We're going to have to go out for additional revenues, but you know, to raise taxes and then give out $750 checks to everybody, I don't know what that really does. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but certainly is sending the wrong message. So I don't know, maybe Aaron will talk to you guys or us more in length at that at some point. Look at that issue. It's an interesting. So I'll just stop.
Well, here's what I can offer. There are deadlines for when measure statements have to be qualified for the ballot. So come September through board communication, at a minimum, I'll raise what we're seeing. So that we have a minimal foundation in terms of what might be experienced on the ballot as we go into November. I'm happy to do that. I just caught an article this week. I'm not sure they have a measure number. It was, I can't even remember, IP3 or something.
Do now.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I saw something popped up.
it just qualified.
It just qualified. Yeah, they
Yeah.
say they have enough signatures. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's statewide, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So another business tax.
I didn't think it was.
Proposed.
I saw that,
So,
I didn't read it closely.
yeah, well, we have time to catch up on it. Yeah. That 12 business advocacy council is this Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday morning.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks for being there. Yep. Phew, my turn. So, the AOC Board of Directors meeting was Monday morning. Before we got to a new topic, well, there were three meaty topics. One, I had no visibility into at all going into the meeting, and it was with regard to the WIR, the Western something region, for the Western region of NACO. I might have gotten the acronym wrong. No, anyway, doesn't matter. Thank you. Aaron Doyle saved me, Western Interstate Region. So, our AOC president, one of the VPs, and our two WIR reps from AOC went to the region in-person meeting down in California somewhere. And apparently they felt very singled out and disheartened is the most positive word that I'll say about fellow state association members as part of WIR, and felt that we need to redouble our efforts to get WIR to be working to restore timber payments on federal lands. We spent time at the board talking about the PILT funding, payment in lieu of timber receipts, as well as secure rural schools. And this all came about because, or this topic came about for the Board of Directors meeting with regard to discussion on new representatives to serve as the Oregon AOC reps to WIR. So we don't have any federal timberlands in Washington County, whereas many of our fellow colleagues do. So quite a bit of time was spent on understanding that. Those two appointments are president, AOC president appointed directly, not through the board. We also went over the AOC proposed budget. The dues, our proposal is for a 3% increase or that we'll be voting on in November, that will be enacted as of January. For subsequent budget years that they're projecting, the following 3 budget years, they're making an assumption that dues will increase 5% each of those years. So that's what's happening there. And then the big new topic, they shared the salary survey review that was done. And that should have landed in your inboxes as well. It's the first time it's been done for AOC and for that organization. It was a good product in my opinion. So they went over the like organizations in other states within our state and so forth. And then they took us through the detail of the actual position comparators. So that was the AOC Board of Directors in a nutshell. It had been billed as a keynote speaker, originally a keynote speaker from Ms. Pope from PGE, but it turned out it was just 15 minutes over Zoom. So she did a nice job of speaking about the grid improvements and their work with Bonneville and co-ops, and also with Pacific Power on the grid. So that part was interesting, but more to come there. So I imagine there will be more specific sessions on the grid at the November conference. I had my monthly chair mayors meeting with Washington County mayors. The keynote topic was the library governance and funding exercise that Lisa Tattersall is leading. Wanted to make sure that they're fully aware of that. So they appreciated that. And I also went through our long-term plate, that long-term sketch with them. Part of what they pined for the older days, where they felt like they were getting information before it came to the board. But I've committed to you that I don't get ahead of you. Don't get ahead of my colleagues. So, but they do appreciate that I bring significant topics that we've been dealing with or our multi-stage programs into them. So can't win for losing. SHS, TCPB, we went over employee retention. There's a 2-part effort here. So we got the consultant report about what's happening, what good things we're trying to do, what the problems are, some other techniques that on a regional basis might help. Oh, I'm way over time. Sorry. Cedar Rising, grand opening happened last week. That was fun. And this Friday, I'm taking a long weekend. So
Okay.
lots going on. Is Angie, want to kick us off for leadership communication?
Of course. So, as part of our emergency preparedness, last Thursday, we held a successful and routine evacuation drill of the Public Services Building. It has been quite some time because there was this beastly virus called COVID that interrupted how we gathered together in places. And so it was great to get back into our practice and education. So we did find some areas that we can improve, but that's why we do these exercises so that when it comes to an emergency, I will say it was a beautiful day and I almost wish we had an employee appreciation event in the parking lot because it was great to see all the faces out evacuated safely. And it's always nice when it's a drill and not an actual evacuation. I want to draw your attention to an email that I sent to your board late last week. And that was regarding an update on the critical facilities and the progress that we are making to project execution. And once again, this was, as we've known, the $48 million problem and then became the $65 million problem. So you'll see in that update, we still have some funding needs that we're going to have to problem solve and address. Those projects are underway. I'm really thrilled looking ahead to this summer that we will have the HVAC within Harkins and Juvenile complete. Last year, that was one that
Touch and go.
that was beyond touch and go. So
In there with water hose.
right. So really want to
Laps
appreciate
around the rosary.
Anne and Laurel for pulling together that update and just wanted to touch base with your board to see if you had any questions on that update or additional information.
I thought it was all good.
Okay. And then this week, I will be traveling on Thursday to Philadelphia for ICMA. As a reminder, all of my ICMA board related expenses, and I want to speak to Commissioner Rogers' point, is covered by ICMA. The county does not bear any of those costs. I am tied to technology throughout this time. So someone had mentioned the last time I was traveling, didn't actually seem you were gone that long because there were responses. During this time, Marnie Kyle will be serving as acting. So whenever I travel out of state, there's always someone acting or outside of a radius because from a coverage, we need to be thinking from an emergency standpoint if someone needs to act. So that's the typical stance both myself and then also Courtney takes as county counsel. And that concludes my update.
Ask one thing. On River Road in Farmington, there's a roundabout going. I think those of us who get things from what we understand that it's going to be down. I don't see, if they do on a lot of state projects, big signs saying, beware, on this particular date, you can't get through here. That is such a busy intersection. I know you're going to get a lot of complaints because once they figure out it's not state highway and it's county project, they can go. Didn't tell us. So.
Yeah, LUT will be putting up signage and that is, yes, that is one of my potential routes to work. So I may be one of those individuals.
Everybody comes from south, we all go through there. Anyway, if they could, that'd be great.
Yes, thanks for that question.
Me three, I take that way home as well, so. Well,
Oh.
There's going to be a lot
could
of
carpool.
comparing of notes.
sounds like we could carpool too. So,
Sustainability.
yes. Good afternoon, Chair Harrington, Board of County Commissioners. I just wanted to share a couple updates that were in your hot sheet and let you know it was a really good week for Washington County at the Court of Appeals last week. First, wanted to draw your attention to a decision that came out in the case called Schwartz versus Washington County, which was a challenge to Ordinance 878, which is the flavored tobacco ban. As you'll recall, the implementation of that ordinance was challenged by Mr. Schwartz in 2021. And in 2022, Washington County Circuit Court actually found for Mr. Schwartz and enjoined the enforcement of the ordinance. We, of course, appealed that decision to the Court of Appeals, and John Mansfield from our office did the oral argument and a lot of the briefing, and we were victorious before the Court of Appeals. That order, the first order from the Court of Appeals, remanded the case back to Circuit Court for an order consistent with the Court of Appeals order. However, as is right, Mr. Schwartz appealed to the Court of Appeals for a reconsideration, a motion for reconsideration. That motion was denied last week. This does leave Mr. Schwartz one avenue to go directly to the Supreme Court to seek review. Of course, their review is completely discretionary. We don't know what they'll do, but it seems unlikely that the Oregon Supreme Court will take it up. And even if they do, we have every confidence that the same arguments will prevail there. However, in all likelihood that the Supreme Court, also he may not appeal. He may decide to let it be at this stage. We'll know in about a month whether he has timely filed an appeal. If everything goes as we anticipate it might, we would expect the decision to be back down to the Circuit Court across the street, and the ordinance could be implemented by the end of the summer. So that's a really good work and good news. The other case that came out of the Court of Appeals last week was another case that touches 878, but this time it was an elections appeal by Mr. Polinsky, saying that the results of the ballot title shouldn't be counted because the ballot title was unclear. This time, Jason Bush and John Mansfield worked closely on this case, and we defended on two grounds, saying one, that his challenge was untimely, and two, even so, the ballot was clear. Again, we prevailed. This time, the Court of Appeals actually took portions of our brief and put it directly into their opinion, which is always a really good sign that the legal argument made was compelling, thorough, and correct. So congratulations to John and especially Jason Bush, who did a lot of that legal research for the brief. And also, this is a really good case for elections statewide. It gives some clarity about when a ballot title challenge can come in. So good work by the team this week. The last thing I wanted to mention, I've heard a couple of people mention how we can't believe it's not only that it's June, but it's already the middle of June. I was caught off a little bit by surprise last week that the Hillsborough Tuesday night market has started. So just wanted to remind everyone listening that that's a great community event. It'll go through the end of September, or till about Labor Day, the beginning of September. It's a great time to get out and be in community and enjoy the bounty of the state and Washington County. And I also bring it up because Washington County has a small part in making that event go, in that we partner to allow the use of the courthouse to be used for the stage and sitting area for people who attend. So another example of good partnership with our partners. That's it for me.
It's probably, there isn't anything we need to do, but on the North Plains situation, there isn't anything that we have to be involved with at all.
I'm going to ask you to hold that. We're working on bringing it back.
Okay.
Staff are talking about it right now about.
Okay.
To talk to your board about the ordinance that's on hold right now. I don't want to get ahead of that. So, yeah. But more to come soon.
Isn't the Saturday market in our parking lot, or was that just for? So yeah, we not only help on the Tuesday market, but we help on the Saturday market as well. So yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm not usually out here on Saturdays because of the good support from leadership. Tells me to keep my Saturdays to myself, but yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that one.
Yeah.
Yep. We do try as an agency to be a good partner. We know we have quite a footprint here in downtown Hillsborough. Yes,
for sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Courtney. Hi, Diane.
Hey, thank you, Chair Harrington, and good afternoon, Board of Clean Water Services. So the team is preparing and exercising their safety and emergency preparation communications for the moderate heat risk that's here on Thursday through Saturday. So it's about 90 to 95 degrees, but the team is using these as experiences to practice good heat safety. On June 28th, the team will be meeting with the Bureau of Reclamation to learn more about their updated economic analysis and how it impacts repayment contracts. As you're aware, right now, Clean Water Services with the first economic analysis has 50% of the 15%, which was a bit of a shock to us. But the team with Elizabeth here and Tracy Rainey, they're really framing the issue well. So CWAC, heard about the Safety of Dams project. They got an update, and their community input is that while they're very mindful of shifting costs between the water providers and the wastewater and stormwater providers, they do feel like we should look at all federal avenues to see if there's a way to reduce the cost to the Clean Water Services repairs. They were really insightful in what they wanted to do and provided input. The third annual Water Reuse Pacific Northwest Oregon Summit was at the Oregon Botanical Garden in Silverton, and Clean Water Services made a really strong showing at that summit. And there were policy leaders from Oregon, Washington, and Idaho that really looked at these innovative approaches that we're trying to do for reuse and supporting DEQ in their regulatory change to allow us to put reuse water on natural wetlands to help support those important functions of wetlands. So the team did really well. So it's critical to our temperature requirements and our climate goals. We're looking really forward to Juneteenth tomorrow. This is the first year that the CWS employees are observing this very important day.
Oh, that's great.
We're looking forward to that. And of course, we're very excited about the State of the County address this Thursday, and several of us will be there in support of your discussion. So that's the highlights.
Great. Great. Onward, ho we go. We do have a draft letter in our packets to consider. This is a letter of support for the Talk Americans application for funding as part of the second NOFO for the CHIPS and Science Act. So I think the memo does a very nice job of giving a very brief overview of the role that talk plays as part of our Silicon Forest and the whole ecosystem out here. So our staff put this together for us to submit on behalf of their application to the state. Oh, federal. Sorry, I forgot about that.
It's good with me. Yep.
Yep. Okay, we're good to go. Approved.
Actually, I think they go by TOK, not TOK.
Okay,
It's TOK.
thank you. I stand corrected.
Yeah, it's okay. Just whatever.
No, that's A-okay. So unless there are any other announcements, that's it for the open session of our work session today. So next, I need to ask for a motion to move to executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub D for the purposes of discussing labor negotiations.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. So all of you who are